Hey everyone, welcome to the Fiscally Awesome podcast. I'm your host, Matt Gardner, co-founder and CEO of Hiline. Today I'm excited to welcome Sarah Acton. Sarah is the Chief Customer Officer for Bill. I've gotten to know Sarah well over the last couple of years. Bill's been a long-time partner to Hiline. I think Sarah's got some awesome perspective on what it means to be a customer-first organization. So I'm excited to jump right into it. Okay, Sarah, it's good to see you again. How are you?
I'm great, Matt. How are you? It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on and be on the pod. Super excited to dive in. We get a lot of cool stuff to talk about. I love your background and I love Bill. Bill's been an awesome partner for Hiline. So I think maybe just to kick it off, just a really brief, give us your background, a couple of the places that you've been in your career, and ultimately help us understand what led you to Bill.
Oh, love that question. And thank you for having me. I love getting to chat about what we do and our relationship together. I have had the amazing opportunity to work for some very different kinds of companies. I started off in advertising. I worked in retail and consumer packaged goods. I ran my own business for a little bit. I think the thing that threads through my career that keeps me so interested and engaged is this intersection of really understanding your customer, understanding how your technology, your data, your product, your service can really help them achieve whatever it is they're trying to do. And whether that was in the early days working at Home Depot, helping people figure out how to make their homes better, to being at LinkedIn and helping people understand the power of a professional network and how that can help drive your career, to today being at Bill and helping people use the power of technology and financial automation to help small, medium-sized businesses, accounting firms really thrive and their businesses to thrive.
And so with Bill, you've had an interesting path through Bill too. As of today, you're Chief Customer Officer, which I think is the most fun title. If I could be anything other than the CEO, I think I want to be the Chief Customer Officer. How long have you been at Bill? What was the reason you went to Bill? Was it Renee and his charismatic personality and passion that kind of attracted you to it? How did you end up there? And what were your couple of stops?
Yeah. So I have been with the company. It's almost 3 years. Next month, it'll be 3 years, which is amazing. I was hired as Chief Marketing Officer. I had the opportunity to be in that role for the majority of my stint. And then in the last quarter, have taken on a Chief Customer Officer. I like the title too, which is leading all of our go-to-market functions. So marketing, pre-sales, post-sales, customer success. And I think when I think about what really brought me to Bill, Renee's charisma was definitely part of it. But beyond Renee's charisma, in any opportunity, I look for three things. One, I look for people. We spend a lot of time in our professional pursuits, and I want to work with people that can challenge me, that I can learn from, that I can grow alongside. And the culture has to be a fit for me. Two, I look for a place where the work that the company is doing is making the world better. I'm very sort of values driven, and being able to help the world have more automation with their finances and help businesses succeed. Okay, check the box. And then the third thing is that I think I can have impact. I think based on my skills, my experiences, okay, I can see where the company is. I think I can really make a difference. And that's what led me to Bill.
Yeah. And Bill was, I've told you this story, but I'll tell it for everybody else too. Bill was the first. So when we first started Hiline, it was 2016, and we were trying to figure out how do we pay bills for people at scale. The very first version of that was we had some check stock and we had filing cabinets. This is ridiculous. We cannot do it. Bill was the first. That was my first exposure and inspiration for how you can do it with technology and how you could create some real scale for the business. And then I realized there was this ecosystem of financial technology that was being put out into the market that solved for a lot of different micro parts of the process. But Bill's continuously been the one who has contributed the most to that because of all the different layers of technology we're using. So Bill was my first exposure to financial technology and accounting services. So as the Chief Customer Officer, so you are the voice of the customer. So you are thinking, eating, living, breathing, eating, sleeping customer all the time.
Yes. I actually, just before our chat, I was chatting with a customer and asking questions, what's working, what's not working, like where can we be better? How can we help you drive growth? And I find that when maybe this is, I don't know, maybe this is from the places that I started in my career, from even from spending time with my dad. He ran his own small business. I get energy and fuel from hanging out with customers. And I think the companies, regardless of industry sector, whatever, the companies who stay super connected to their customer and use that to drive innovation, to drive creativity, like that's gasoline for growth companies, for any
Yeah.
company. Like it's gasoline for growth.
Yep. So as the chief customer officer, like you have so many, it seems so many different groups that are reporting up to you. So like when you get like a piece of information about that, like you talk to a customer and it forms an opinion for you or an idea, like how do you, with all those folks and all that span of control, like how do you like push it down to
Mm,
everybody else?
great question. So one of the things that I think in any organization, but certainly organizations that are growing, is you have to stay really connected internally in order to service the needs of folks externally. And so making sure that I'm understanding and I dig deep into the organization. People get Slacks and emails from me that I haven't met. And I'm like, hey, I know you do this. Hey, I have a question, or I heard this on a call today. And I think one part of it is keeping pace with how the organization is functioning. And then two, I think it is not, there is structure and hierarchy in an organization because you need it sometimes, but it
Yeah.
should never be a hindrance or prevent you from just getting information to the right people. And so sometimes there are things, we have scaled mechanisms for sharing context. There are lots of videos that get distributed across the company and certainly scaled ways of sharing information. But there's also a lot that is on the call I was on earlier today. I'm like, hey, there's a follow up. I send a note to somebody. I'm like, I want you checking back in with this customer because I think this is something we can solve. So it's a bit of both.
Yeah. So I'm asking it for selfish reasons because right now as a company, we're trying to define like what it really means to be a customer first organization. Like how do we like really truly like use data and use what our customers are telling us to build a better product for Highline? And then how do you get that message across the entire organization and operationalize around like how to actually make it actionable and make it better? So we're learning how to do it right now. That was why I was asking.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I was very lucky. I had an opportunity to work for Coca-Cola earlier on in my career. And when you think about these sort of massive consumer products companies, like somebody like Coca-Cola, who's been around for over 100 years, like their their asset, yes, they make products and services, but they know their customer so deeply and they've watched the customer evolve over decades. And one of the things that I found is that there's a currency in the company for knowing the customer. When I was there, I worked on the Sprite brand, and there was currency in me knowing our customer at the time was tween boys. And so knowing what was happening in the lives of our customers was currency in the organization. And I think organizations who are able to value understanding the customer, it helps the organization constantly thinking about ways to infuse that kind of knowledge through all parts of the organization.
Yep. And so we both serve SMBs, right? So we have the similar end customers. One thing that highlighting that we're realizing is that we have the curse of knowledge and we're accountants and we've been told or taught that as an accountant, you should care about these things. And it could be an income statement, a balance sheet, something that like we were taught that's like the end product of what you should be putting out. And we're learning that like those actually aren't necessarily the same things that our customers care about. Our customers care
Oh,
about more deep real-time insights that may be more focused on cash, maybe focused on things that help them like understand their vendors and their customers better. As we're hearing these things and forming our opinion, it's like really interesting to see like customer versus what everybody was always taught should matter. And they're not always the same things. So we're building the muscle internally today. So it's helpful to hear you talk about it that way.
and it evolves, right? Like in the same way that the company's not standing still, we're not standing still as individuals, our customers aren't standing still. Their
Yeah.
needs are changing, the technology landscape is changing. So I think the thing that I think a lot about is creating the muscle and the infrastructure for making sure that you're keeping pulse. Because it's not a moment in time that matters. It's about making sure that you're constantly getting
Yeah.
fed what's top of mind for them, to your point, because it
Yeah.
changes.
It changes. And there's even on Bill's platform, like there's a lot of great insights around their spend, around their accounts payable, even around their cash and what's happening with cash coming in and out that we were trying to figure out how do we leverage it better and embed it deeper in our service model so that our clients have some of the information they're looking for. Okay, cool. So can we talk more about SMBs?
Yes.
Yeah.
My
So
favorite topic.
favorite topic. So right now, everybody I think is like in the SMB economy is like, it's like hard to measure, right? Like there's not like a good benchmark for it. It's not a good metric, but like in general, like how do you think SMBs that work with Bill and like adapting right now to what is just a is very much like everything's moving so quickly because technology is changing, information is changing, all sorts of just like economic and just landscapes around the world. What are you seeing from your customers that's enlightening or just stands out to you as well? Like they're changing this way, they're adapting this way. What are you guys seeing at Bill?
Yeah. Um, one of the things that's a constant, and then I'll talk about what we're seeing, there is an incredible resiliency. There is an incredible sort of grit. There's an incredible passion. Pick your words, but SMBs are constantly looking for ways to adapt to their environment. And we've seen this, right? SMBs as a community population or sector of the economy have had numerous sort of things that have come their way that have required them to get really good at adapting with speed, and I think that is a constant for SMBs. And I think the thing that changes is what is the thing that they're adapting to, whether at various points it has been the COVID, it has been other things that are happening economically, but figuring out how to adapt. And I think for us, the technology adoption and the sort of wave of technology adoption, there's no reversing. There are, from surveys and data that we have, we continue to see that technology is top of mind for SMBs because it does, whether it's freeing up time, like on our platform, if we can help customers save 50% of their time doing their accounts payable, like that's time back to do other things. So freeing up time, but there also has to be real ROI. And so as we talk to SMBs and hear from them, there's very much an ROI calculation of what is this going to save me? What is the impact either internally or for my customers that I'll be able to deliver as a result of adopting any new piece of technology? And the last thing I'll say is we saw this definitely through COVID. There was a lot of technology adoption. And I think right now there are folks who are looking to their accountant partners to say, okay, are these all the right things in my toolbox? Are there things that I should be using or shouldn't be using? And more, I know you know this, but more and more accountants are in that position of being technology advisors.
Yes. Yes. Technologists.
Yes.
We're like accounting scientists. We're becoming accounting scientists in a lot of ways. So I agree. I think SMBs in general have the advantage of being small and nimble, and they can turn their boats on a dime if they need to, because they just don't have the infrastructure and they don't have thousands of people.
Mhm.
And like the last couple of years have been hard to navigate. And I think it's forced folks to just be more conscious of how they invest their money, their financial capital. And also I love hearing that you think they're also thinking about their like the value of their time, like an operator or a founder, somebody who's running a business, like just thinking of doing the mental math of, is this saving me time so that I can spend more time running my business, focusing on growing my business? Do you think that AI has changed, like the AI buzz out there has changed or influenced the technology adoption? Like, do you think the two things are connected? Do you think that they're not connected? What are you thinking?
It is definitely a topic that's just top of mind for all of us. But we've done some surveys of our customers, and there's definitely over 85% of them are interested in adopting some kind of AI. And
Sure.
so it is they are seeing the potential for, just like we all are, seeing the potential for what it can do, but that's coupled with a lot of small and mid-sized businesses, they don't have the resources to do thousands of experiments. They're looking for, what can this solve for me now? What is the ROI? How is it going to make my customer's life better, my life better? And so there's very much a practicality that I think is going to force the technology landscape to make sure that all of us are being really clear in delivering and articulating the value of what we can deliver, because SMBs are going to constantly be looking for that. But their appetite for technology is very strong.
Very strong. Do you guys get a lot of questions about AI? Is AI safe? Should I be using it? Do you think, is there a curiosity out there still? Or do you think that everybody, we've cleared the curiosity hurdle and everybody's just, let's bring it on. I want to create leverage for myself.
There's absolutely a continued focus on responsibility. And so
Okay.
as customer, and we have the same, if not more, approach to any of our technology, is we are delivering an essential part of our customers' lives. And so we take that responsibility very seriously. And so
Yep.
as you think about any kind of technology, but certainly with AI, making sure that there's an understanding of, how is the data being used? Where is the data being used? All of the things that we think about in terms of safeguarding incredible assets, customers are asking the same questions. And so we have been doing all sorts of, whether it's webinars or doing different kinds of training, providing content, because we know it's top of mind. And going back to that conversation around how things are changing, like, it's changing rapidly. And so making sure that we are not only a provider of technology, but also a provider of information as customers are navigating, and with our accounting partners. We talked recently at our advisory council. One of the things that I think a lot of firms are navigating is the massive opportunity that exists with AI, and how to navigate through that.
Yep. What I can share what where we're seeing and how my thoughts on it, and then maybe you can reflect on it. But the question for like accounting firms, are we going to get replaced? Is all the AI technology going to make us go away? And I've always been a strong proponent that's not actually the case, because it's hard to just drop a piece of technology, whether it's pure tech or it's AI, into an organization. And I just think it's just not, it may create leverage and efficiency, but it's not just going to work. Like, you have to rethink your systems, processes. You have to teach people how to work with the technology the right way. And I think that is just like a redefinition of a required service layer on top of the technology that is just evolving. So I'm excited because I think you can start to create like some real efficiencies, even for our company. You can start to two, three, four, think about how to create like 2, 3, 4X employees
Mm.
to eliminate the mundane work that maybe they don't love to do, and have them focus more on doing work that creates more value for their clients with better technology. So do you agree with that, or do you have different perspective?
Totally resonates. And I think even one of the examples you provided about, the industry thinks we should focus on these things, but they're not actually the things our customers are looking for, that we were
Yes.
talking about earlier. I think the same is gonna be true where the things that when we think about through the history of technology, right? Like, the tasks that are repeatable, that are based on consistent processes, like, those are things that are ripe for automation. And then what has happened over the history of time is, then you use the time to deploy against the next sort of layer of value, the things that are true insights, the true sort of advising, that I know from talking with you, but from others, like, that's where you find real value. You feel like, okay, I'm really helping my partner, my customer, my business thrive, because my more of my time is focused against the things that are high ROI. And that's what I'm excited about, for sure.
Yeah, this analogy was said to me recently by my executive coach, and I'm totally stealing this from her. She said that professional services, and because they've always provided like three buckets of value to their customers. One was knowledge, which basically Google commoditized. Two is insights, which I think AI and platforms like Bill will commoditized. And then there's strategy, which I think you can just do and provide much better strategy if you use technology tools the right way to just make sure that the knowledge is solid and accessible and the insights are made available to you to strategically advise your customers. And I think that seems so obvious and it was so simple the way she explained it to me, but it's changed the way that I think about how we even run our business and what we want our people to focus on.
And what underlies all of that, I think that, again, when we think about where time and attention can go is on the connections and the relationships, right? If you think about our own sort of time, and I'm sure your time, you don't get to have as many conversations with as many people as you want because there's a bunch of stuff that you have to do. But the more that we can use technology to do some of that, you can get more time building connections and building relationships, which are a critical part of everything that we do.
I want to be the chief customer officer for Highland and talk to our customers all day long.
It's
That's my,
awesome. It's awesome. I have the best job.
that's our job. Okay. So a lot of accounting firms. Do you think that like in general, are you hearing a lot of the same things from the other accounting firms that you're talking to in terms of what's happening in the SMB ecosystem? What are they thinking about? What's top of mind? Any concerns they have? Is there any different themes that we haven't already covered that you're hearing?
There are a lot of parallels. I think the idea around growth for the accounting industry, like the industry as a whole has had strong growth, and we have over 7,000 firms on the platform, and
Wow.
so we're getting lots of data points, but growth continues to be a very laser focus. I think the ability to continue to deliver differentiated services to customers. Like
Yeah.
that is a theme. And I think that's true both of firms, but of SMBs in general, but making sure that the thing that you do that's different than anybody else, that your time, attention, and focus is really against delivering that. And so we hear that a lot from firms. And I think part of that sort of next phase of growth, I think continues to be focusing on the places that are not the commoditized, right? But focusing on that extra sort of value layer that is anybody individual firm's differentiator.
Yeah. Yeah. The differentiated stuff is the fun stuff, the advisory stuff. Sometimes I think we undersell the value of building an operational back office infrastructure. Let's basically, we're putting our back office on skates and we're making it really efficient and we're procuring the technology, we're setting up and we're managing it. And that is a value in itself that I think sometimes we just assume is just table stakes. That's the part that like you have to do the service, but I think that alone adds a ton of value to
I
our
I,
client.
I agree 100%. And I think both the accounting firms, but even at Bill, like to be able to move 1% of GDP, there's a bunch of things that we've
That's great.
built that are I know, but there's a ton of infrastructure and process and just, um, like, foundation that you sometimes can forget about, but
Yeah.
it is incredibly valuable, and I think the same is true for firms, like, the ability to automate all of that and to make it seamless, and then to be able to provide value on top, like, that's the story to tell for sure.
Yeah. It's like the best ERP that you could buy. Like the integrations between even like QuickBooks, you often find people switch off it earlier than I think sometimes you need to because they feel like they have to be in a connected ERP system. But I think the best ERP system is the one that you can construct that
Mhm.
meets the needs you have. And I don't think there's any ERP system out there that does everything better than the individual technology partners. There's not an ERP system with a better system than Bill or Divvy. Or so I just think that you could build a best in class one if you integrate technology tools really well and you understand what the use case is.
And I think that last thing you said is so critical, is understanding what you're actually trying to solve for your business. I
Yeah.
think at times and we hear this from customers where maybe they started on one thing or they tried this other thing or they've moved off of something and come to us, and I think it is really understanding what you need, what you don't need, how your business functions. And I think that's where accountants are amazing advisors because, and I hear it from firms like, we had a new client and they came to us with this like basket of stuff. And we had to tell them, like, that you put some things in your basket you don't need. But that's that. But when you do that and you can understand the business and the technology, you really can create incredible value. And that's why we do what we do.
That's why we do what we do. Okay. The name of the podcast is Fiscally Awesome. So it's all about making sure that we can bring it back to being fiscally awesome. So in terms of Bill and Bill's mission, can you draw like a parallel between like Bill and what you're trying to do and like how we can make SMBs more fiscally awesome?
Yes. So our mission at Bill is to make it simple to connect and do business. And when we think about being fiscally awesome, oftentimes this world, even if I think I'm going to tell you a quick story. When I think
Yeah.
back, I was
Sorry.
a small business owner. I owned my own retail business for about 3.5 years. And I remember I started the business and there was a woman who owned a business next door to mine and it was thriving. And I was like, "Oh, I wanna be her." And there was a bunch of stuff like, in terms of my financial back office that I didn't understand, and so I went over, and I was like, "Hey, can I get some do you have an accountant? Can I get a referral?" And that was, like, the beginning of me trying to figure out how to drive growth and figure out my own back office, and so the simple part, making it simple to connect and do business, simple is about taking out some of that complexity, taking out some of that mystery, and creating clarity, whether it's clarity around what's happening with my bills. Are they getting paid? When are they getting paid? What's happening with my cash flow? How am I doing? That's critically important. And then connecting, it's all connected. It's all an ecosystem. We have over 7 million entities on the platform. So as we
Wow.
think about, it's not just the companies, but who they're paying, who are in their networks that are helping their businesses grow. So that connection is critical. And then do business. Simple connect and do business. Doing business, like making sure payments get where they need to go, making sure as you're making, spend and expense transactions, like you've got clarity on who's spending money in real time. That's the name of the game.
Simplicity. I think there's power in simplicity. I think that's something that Bill's done really well. You've made the platform simple and easy for people to use. And it's not as easy as you make it look because there is a lot of complication that goes into managing the back office, but it makes it easy to do.
Thank
So
you.
yes, we also, we started talking about like the concept of capital allocation a lot. And we talk
Cool.
about it at Hiline and we talk about it with our guests. And I'm always curious, like how people think about it because I find that it's considered reserved for investment bankers. It's reserved for really big companies. And I
Hmm.
think that for SMBs, like learning what it means to allocate capital, like how you spend a dollar, and it's not even just like financial capital, it's also human capital, it's your time and your team's time. So can you share, like, how do you think about even like the human capital side? Like, running a big team, customer officer, like, how do you think about allocating even like the human?
It's a great question. And I start with as simple a place as I can, which is how are the resources having the most impact on our customers?
Mm,
And there are a whole host of various metrics depending on the team, depending on the function, that are ways of measuring that. But at the end of the day, making sure that for every resource, whether that's a person or a dollar, that we are looking at what is the impact that's having on our customers' lives, on helping to provide them with the education they need to get the most of out of our product or service, or helping them discover something new or solve a problem or what have you. It's really about the impact to the customer. And then part of all of any sort of person who's in a position of being responsible for allocating capital of any sort, there is often the science comes in getting the right measures to know whether those resources are delivering what you want them to deliver. And so sometimes we will need to adjust our what metrics we're looking at and how frequently we're looking at them. And sometimes we experiment and we say, okay, we think there's an opportunity here. Let's go try it and deploy a small amount of resources and see if it's going to deliver what we want. But it's at the end of the day, it's about impact to customers. And then what I will also say is then is the type of resource we've deployed the right resource. So we may do things that are inefficient to start, to test an idea, And then it's okay. So we'll use people to do something. We'll take a person and say, okay, we're going to go test this thing. And so that's working. Now, how do we swap it out with a different resource? Is there technology? Is there something that we can deploy to increase and scale and grow the outcome that we're trying to achieve?
So is that how you like two points, but first one, so is that how you determine like how to spend your time? Is it like the places where I think my customer is going to get the highest ROI from me? Is that how you think about your time?
Yes, there's also, and they're correlated, but there's also, I've I am very fortunate. I have amazing people on my team that are incredibly smart and incredibly capable. They don't need me mucking around in what they're doing. But the places where I can uniquely make a difference, whether that is because of context I have, because of insight I have, because there's something that needs to get unblocked or what have you. And so it is both, where can I have the most impact for customers, but also where can my time be disproportionately valuable versus anyone else.
Yeah, that's very well said. And I love the other thing that you said too about being like, you have to be inefficient first before you can figure out how to be efficient when you're testing things. I think companies in general can tend to try to go to, how do I automate this process that's a new process versus let's just do it by hand first. Let's get the workflow right. And then let's figure out how to actually automate it, make it more efficient. I think that's super wise. And we probably need to be better at that sometimes too, because it can be distracting. And sometimes it's easy to get sucked into, let's build something to like try to do this awesome thing and make it automated. You don't even know if that's what you want it to do yet.
And that, then if you think about it, if you get it wrong, right? Like you build the thing and then you
There's,
realize it was the
you're
wrong
right.
product. Exactly. And what is a lot of companies talk about minimum viable product, or there are different sorts of concepts, but thinking about what is the fastest way to get signal of whether this is valuable and this is the right thing. And then putting in gates. And we spend a lot of time setting up experiments and thinking about what are the gates, what are success criteria to move to the next stage, where we're optimizing both speed for learning and also like structure of experiment so that we know we've passed a gate. And I will tell you on the time thing, I learned that my dad owned a professional services firm. He was a lawyer and he owned the firm for over 50 years.
Wow.
And one of the, I know, I have a bunch of stories about that. But the one of the things, one of the many lessons I learned from him, and I learned very early on, was he had a billable rate. And so he was often thinking about, if I can have someone else do this, and this thing is, I can go service my clients and make more impact for them and grow a business, that's where I should spend my time. And so I think I learned that early on, to ask myself the question, is this the best use of my time in service of serving our customers, serving the organization? So credit
I
him for
love
that.
I love that. And then you also talked about data, like using data to drive decision making too. So with Bill, can you touch on like some of the data driven insights that you're making available to your customers today? And maybe if you can share, is there anything that like you're working on for tomorrow that will help our SMB customers make better decisions around capital allocation?
Yes. So there, one of the things, I'll go backward and then go forward. One of the things that was so exciting to me about Bill, as I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to come here, was this idea of democratizing data and putting it in the hands of SMBs and accounting firms to make better decisions. And we are continuing on that journey. And so as we think about whether that data, the spend and expense product is a fantastic example of, you're a small business owner, you need to understand in real time what is happening with your spend. And on the mobile app, you get informed immediately when someone's making a purchase, what's happening with your capital. And so that's about today's capital, today's money, and making sure that the data and insights are not just that the data and insights are getting to the right person, but they have to be timely. They have to be delivered. If you're seeing things 30 days at month end and you're overspent, like, you can't change the past. And so bringing things closer and closer to being able to action them. And then in terms of things I'm excited about delivering insights, our cash flow and insights product, which is really helping to give that kind of visibility into not just where you are today, but potential outcomes in the future. So being able to understand, and you can imagine a scenario where you want to understand if you're going to look forward and make a capital allocation in the future, what would happen to your cash flow. Like those kinds of things are increasingly becoming possible. And again, putting it in the hands of people who can make decisions with that data is super, super exciting.
And it's like with you all the time, like all these insights are like in your pocket. Do you use them? So I love that. How do you think about like with Bill and Highline and all of your other accounting partners out there? I feel like 1+1 is 5, right? If we're working together to put a solution together that makes SMBs more productive, more efficient, better capital allocators. I feel like everybody's winning. So like, how do you think we can do that better? Like, where can we get better in telling that story and partnering together to make sure that everybody knows this is the way that you should be thinking about doing it for your back office?
Yeah, great question. It's gonna go back to where we started. So I think there is the relationships that we have with accounting firms. You're Matt at Highline, you're talking to lots of SMBs, right?
Yeah.
You're servicing all of your clients, and you as an organization are pattern matching and getting feedback and understanding what your clients are looking for, which then in turn feeds back to us, right? And every time we talk, I ask you for feedback. What are you hearing? What's happening? Because I said, it's like it's fuel to the growth engine. And so I think that continued partnership of and open dialogue. You and I talk, and I'm like, okay, tell me what I don't want to hear. Tell me, I want all the feedback, right? That's important. It's
Yep.
not just yes, I want to know the things that are working, but I always want to know where there are opportunities. And so I think that open dialogue, which is created based on partnership,
Yep.
based on that 1+1 = 5. I know that when I can service your needs better, that helps you grow, and which in turn helps us grow. And so I think that's an amazing thing. And from a story perspective, I think it is increasingly about meeting SMBs where they are, talking to them about the things that they care about, talking to them about the things that are top of mind for them is, never more important than it is right now.
Yeah. And there's still a lot of small businesses out there that have not necessarily leaned in or embraced technology yet. And they don't have everything figured out. They're not running efficiently. So there's still a lot of work to be done, a lot of wood to chop to get everybody on board.
There's lots of greenfield.
I think that by you might actually have a more recent number, but like 33 billion small businesses in the US economy. Do you have a more recent figure than that? Is that about right?
It's about right. I know that the penetration of financial automation is still in early innings for sure, and was and that, like, I think a lot about, and I know you do too, I think a
Big
lot
number.
about
A
I it's
lot
a
of,
huge number, it's a huge number,
yeah,
and the number of times that I hear from customers, maybe it's a customer who is newer to their journey with us, and I was actually talking to somebody just last week who was newer to their journey with us, the and it's so rewarding because 'cause they're like, "Oh my gosh, my life got so much better." Like, I nearly lost my business because I missed a payment to a massive supplier, and now it's all
sure.
automated. And so I do feel like this amazing, I don't wanna say responsibility because it's more like an opportunity to tell that message far and wide and say, there's a better way."
Right. It's a much better way. There's a very modern, there's a new way.
Yeah,
And it's fun. We're still every day when we're on with prospects and customers. So often, the majority of the companies that we talk to have never outsourced their accounting or finance work before. They've never used a lot of the technology. So it's still more common than not that they have no technology than they have the technology already,
yeah.
which is
We off
amazing.
It's totally crazy. A lot of the conversation people will ask competitors, whatever, and a lot of times competitors are old ways of it's not other tech. It is old ways of doing things. It is a shoebox of
It's
receipts
what you
or
said. Like, you're the system first in an inefficient way, but then they forget that they have to make it more efficient eventually. So the system.
100%, 100%.
Yep. Okay. So one last question. Maybe you can answer this from the founder's perspective too. So I always like ask for one, if you had one piece of advice to give to somebody out there starting a business right now, right? Like I know there's lots of advice you can give from the Bill side. Really, what about from your time operating a business? Like one thing that you think everybody should hear that could make their journey a little bit easier?
Ask for help.
Ask for help. Love that.
Ask for help.
Honestly.
It is, I think sometimes, and I definitely experienced this as a small business owner. There were times where I suffered in silence a little bit because I was like, no, like I should be able to figure this out, and this is the job, and looking back, yes, I went next door and asked for a referral to an accountant, which was amazing, but I should have done that more often because I think, especially with the SMB community, and the same as with the accounting community, there is this desire to see the people around you thrive. There's a sharing of information, let me tell you about this hard thing on my journey so that you don't have to go through that. So it would be ask for help.
That resonates with me. I used to carry around like this imaginary backpack that I just kept throwing rocks in and just like accepting the pain because you don't ask for help all the time too. So that's awesome.
And I
Okay.
do it today. I do it today all the time with my team. I don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
I ask for help.
Yep. Yeah. I definitely don't have all the answers either. I can very honestly say that. So Sarah, thank you to you and Bill for making our SMB customers more fiscally awesome. And I appreciate your time and your honesty. I think your perspective was really amazing, fascinating. And maybe sometime you'll be gracious enough to come back and join us again and give us an update.
I would love to. The journey of being fiscally awesome never stops. So
Never.
I would love to. And
Okay,
thank you for
Sarah,
having me, Matt.
thank you very much. I will see you soon at Digital CPA.
Love it.
Okay. Bye, Sarah.